Welcome back to the news today. This is the daily debate on Israel elections 2015. The terror attack in Tel Aviv sparked different reactions in the Israeli establishment, from the Israeli Prime Minister, who blamed the attack on what he described as a, quote, the Palestinian Authority's incitement against Jews and their country. His opposition and leader of the so-called Zionist camp, Isaac Herzog, took aim at the current administration and slammed the deterioration in the security situation in Israel. The question now is, who will gain politically from this deterioration in security? With me is Amir Oren, defense and government analyst for our Today newspaper. Good evening.
Evening, Lucy.
And also Sami Abu Shehadeh, Secretary General for the Ballot Party in Tel Aviv. Jaffa, good evening. Thank you very much.
Good evening.
So we've been discussing the entire evening right now that it's amazing to see how every time that the situation, the security situation in Israel deteriorate, the one who's gaining from it is Benjamin Netanyahu, which is supposed to be, I think, in a normal way, it's supposed to be the opposite, because when a prime minister is not bringing you the security that you want to the streets, you should not elect him. And it seems that the Israelis, the more that they feel not secure, the more that they trust Benjamin Netanyahu.
Well, I beg to differ regarding the generality of what you just stated. Yes, there were instances in the past, in 1996, partly in 2009. It's not a clear case because Netanyahu came in second after Tzipi Livni in that case. But there are two different visions. Netanyahu's visions and Likud's is that Israel is doomed to live in a cycle of violence. It is out of its control. It is not to blame, the Palestinians, the Arabs, the Muslims, the world, everybody else. And Netanyahu is the best guardian Israel can have in order to safeguard it. This is Netanyahu's vision. The opposite vision, held by Herzog and others and most of the defense establishment, is that there is an optimistic outlook. Yes, the cycle can be cut if there is a political deal, a compromise, a grand compromise with the Palestinians and with the Arab world in general. And in order to get there, Israel should be looking forward rather than always hunkering down in its bunker. And Israelis have to choose in 2 months' time whether they believe that the outlook is pessimistic, and that even if it is so, Netanyahu, who got Israel into this mess, is the best man to keep her out of it or to get her out of it later. It seems right now that at least Netanyahu is a bit in a panic. He does not believe right now that his re-election is assured, which is why he has turned to his allies in Washington and asked them to invite him to appear in a joint session of Congress. And this is...
You're saying that he wasn't invited? He asked people to invite him?
Well, you know how this back and forth goes. You are polite. Your hosts ask you whether you will be available. They don't want to be turned down. This would be impolite. And he says, well, in that case, I will find some time and I will come to Washington to address a joint session of Congress, and Barack Obama, of course, didn't like it.
Yeah, but it would have been normal, or it would have been correct if he was going to be elected in the United States, but he's not going to be elected in the United States. I'm sorry, unless I don't know something, but he's not going to be elected in the United States. Well, he's going to be elected in Israel.
He's going to be elected in Israel. The serious problem in the Israeli elections in the last decade, that there was no other alternative. There's only one alternative. Yani, I wish that in the Israeli audience, what Amirna was saying, that there are two different visions. Okay, there are people who are giving hope and people who are continuing what's going on now. Our serious problem that in the Israeli political system, all the others, those who are not Netanyahu, did not give the people hope and tell them that there is an alternative, but Netanyahu is choosing to do something else. Most of the people, by the way, those who said that there is no Palestinian partner was not Netanyahu. It was Barak who invented this sentence and said that there is no Palestinian partner. Since then, there is no hope. There is no hope in the Israeli political system that can tell the people that there are different political, and without political alternatives, we might again be dealing with Netanyahu as a prime minister.
But when the center left is led by a former general such as Rabin and later Barak, people trust him to find a military solution if it turns out that Likud was right.
Yeah, but you know what is different in this election? You don't see a lot of military faces. You see too much of a social faces.
That's the
a
positive.
lot of young children, I almost called them, but a lot of young faces. And, you know, it's not the era of Rabin, of Ariel Sharon,
Exactly.
of the people who are saying, Mr. Gentleman Security guys.
But this is the positive aspect, because Herzog cannot convince the voters that he will know how to deal with an emergency in the security field. On the other hand, he could tell them, if I bring forward a moderate proposal, maybe we won't have these problems. Because of his background, he must have a peace plan. He cannot just say, I will send more troops to the West Bank, I will send the police and the border patrol to Jerusalem. He must be much more creative.
Listen, I'm not sure that we need any more initiatives, by the way. There have been too much initiatives.
Oh, there are a lot of initiatives all over the place.
And I think the best that till now could be considered quite seriously is the Arab Peace Initiative since 2002. That the whole Arab and Islamic world told Israel, we are ready for a historical compromise.
But not Hamas or Iran.
In a two-state solution. And yes, not Hamas and Iran, but 56 or 58 Arab and Islamic
Well, you
states.
said all, not all.
Yeah. So this meant that the vast majority of
Right.
and if Israel went into this step, okay, now would have been in a much different sign. The Israeli answer for this peace initiative was the destruction of the Jenin camp at that time.
I just want to go just for a second to I-24 News correspondent Shaban Ari, who is at the Ichilov Hospital in Tel Aviv, where several of the wounded have been treated in the last terror attack in Tel Aviv. Good evening, Shai. So, Shai, we're talking here about how it will affect the elections, how this, let's say, deteriorating security situation inside Israel is helping this side or the other side. What are the voices today that we're hearing from the candidates about this current situation?
Right. Well, it's interesting to note, that in the case of this certain terrorist incident, we heard several voices from within the government basically place all of the blame, of course, on the Palestinian president, and that's interesting to note that they didn't turn to the more radical factions, namely Hamas, of course, when it comes to the responsibility for this incident. And it would seem that the reason for this would perhaps be to sort of justify the stagnation that we have seen on the diplomatic scene. Of course, there hasn't been a lot of progress in talks with the Palestinians. Of course, there was the crisis at the UN with the Palestinian resolution there. And when it comes to Hamas and Israel's engagements, or rather conflicts with that organization, it's difficult to say that the Netanyahu government has had a lot of success. We remember the last conflict, which ended on a very sour note. I was, for example, earlier today in the communities surrounding the Gaza Strip, talking to people, and we got a sense today that there is really a lot of disappointment with the current government there within those communities. They place a lot of the blame on Netanyahu, and even today there's a lot of people still identify with, for example, the Labor or the Zionist Camp Party, as it's known today, which has been a traditional link with the Likud, it seemed there in that area. There is a lot of disappointment with the Netanyahu government in its engagements or in its dealings, let's say, with the problem of Hamas and the Gaza Strip in general. And it seems that the Netanyahu government is eager to divert attention from that problem and to place the blame for the current stagnation on all diplomatic scenes, let's say, firmly on the shoulders of President Mahmoud Abbas.
Yes, Shaban Ari, thank you very much for this.
There is this perception that many Israelis are die-hard ideologues, and that Likud voters, for instance, will vote for Likud no matter what. But 9 years ago, right after the disengagement for Gaza, Netanyahu got only 12 seats in the Knesset, the lowest possible number. Most Israelis are really pragmatic. They want a leader who will assure them a better life. And the choice before them is between security and settlements. It is not between a continuation of the present situation and some world peace. They want to have security if they can get a peace agreement which will give them security by the recognition of the neighboring countries and peoples. They will take it, even though it would mean dismantling the settlements.
Let's talk a little bit about the alternatives that are happening and that are being created in the last few days. And we are starting to hear Eli Yishai from the Orthodox Party, Shas, saying that he, let's say, had a reconciliation with Yair Lapid from Yesh Atid party, from the center, Aryeh Deri, I'm sorry, not Eli Yishai, with Yair Lapid. Yair Lapid that said that he will never ever sit down with Orthodox in the same government. And it seems that things are shifting, or maybe people are starting to build the coalition just before the results. Got it?
Well, the polls are not that good for all these newcomers. And Lapid has been really destroyed in these elections till now. From what we see till now, that he was the biggest thing in the last Israeli elections. He had 19 seats and he had a very big party. Now they are giving him 9 or 10 maximum. So there would be, I think, till the 29th of January, till the last day when everybody should give the list of his party, we will continuously daily hearing about different coalitions and different people trying to build bigger parties and so on. Same with all the other parties. We will continue hearing about Netanyahu Bennett maybe going together, and we'll be hearing about maybe Shas and maybe getting back to Eli Yishai. The whole thing will be discussed few times till the end in the next few days. But this still is not giving any other different solution than what the last Israeli few governments have done till today. And this is a serious problem. We will be continuing, and the whole Israeli political system will be still stuck with the same ideology and the same solution.
Politics is not that different from the hotel business or the airline industry. When you have a vacant seat or a vacant room, you want to sell it because tonight is going away and this flight will no longer fly and you are left with vacancies. So politicians speak highly of themselves and regarding their ideals, but when push comes to shove and they have to make or break, they will take whatever deal they are offered. And this is why Deri and Lapid are already maneuvering to be in the Herzog cabinet, because they so personally dislike Netanyahu.
And we see some campaigns that are being held against Benjamin Netanyahu in the Shas party, Orthodox party, that we heard just a month before that Benjamin Netanyahu had some kind of a deal with them. So this is just breaking, everything is breaking and happening.
But all deals must be presented to the Knesset. There can be no secret deals because it is illegal, and they will be disqualified if they try to hide such deals from the voters and from the authorities.
So let's talk about maybe the next deal breaker, and the next deal breaker is in one where we can say the Arab parties that are deciding or not deciding to be united.
Which for the first time in their history, they will be all united to one Arab list.
And if they will actually run in one list, they can be part of the coalition.
They are not asking to be part of the coalition, because being part of the coalition meaning that you are also responsible for occupying your people and for putting Gaza under siege and for all of the things that's happening in Jerusalem by Jewidizing Jerusalem. The Arab political parties in Israel cannot allow themselves to be part of occupying their people and destroying their lives. This is why they will be refused from the beginning to be in the coalition. But they will become much bigger now. We have 11 Arab members in the Israeli Knesset. We are expecting to have maybe 15 or 16. This will be a serious change in the Israeli political system.
It will be almost 20%, like the
their percentage in the voters.
Yeah.
But because it's a young population, they are not. They have only 17% of the voters. So I think it's going to be a big surprise in this election.
But you have 4 people competing for the top position. May I give you some free advice? Do it alphabetically. You don't have to put the leader at the top.
Amir, no, you are really just saying something which is not accurate. We have agreed who should be leading. Hadash party will be leading.
Why? Why is that?
Because they have the biggest number
of people.
The biggest percentage of voters voted to Hadash as a party. Now the Arab United Party of the four others had more percentage, but they are united from three different factors. So Hadash is so this has been agreed upon a few weeks ago. The problem was what is going to be agreed upon after the 11th. Yes. Okay, and today they brought a neutral committee to decide upon it. I think tomorrow they are going to talk about this in the.
But
so
will
you know what I think? First of all, that the show is ending, this part at least. And more than that, I think that we will have you tomorrow, if tomorrow they will decide.
As long as Arab voters go to the polls. This is very important.
All the polls are saying that at least 70% this time.
Let's hope and see the Arab voters finally going after and actually voting.
They will.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for being with me in this part.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, of course, gentlemen.
Gentlewoman.
And a lady. We're going out for a small break, 2 minutes. And